Hello, Michael Swain here, doing a little bit of a post-game wrap video on the move after KU basketball's 82-76 win over Southern Utah here in Allen Fieldhouse. A pretty disappointing performance, I'd say, and I think that Norm Roberts and some of the KU players made that pretty known post-game that I don't think anyone was pleased with the way that Kansas played here on Friday night. A bit of a tricky position for the team. You think about it, you go to Indianapolis on Tuesday and have a big win over Duke that is grueling and obviously the biggest test that Kansas has had this season. And then you return home for one home game before you head to the Bahamas for Battle for Atlantis. It's kind of a little bit of a letdown spot after the Duke game, but also a look-ahead game as well, considering the trip that the players and team are going to be able to go on, which it will be fun. The first kind of out-of-country trip I believe the team has done since the COVID pandemic. So an exciting opportunity for them, but that doesn't take away from the lackluster performance overall. And I think it's a collection of things that maybe led to this, where obviously the defensive intensity wasn't there. And that's something that I think was a real calling card for this team over the first 3 games of the season. You felt like throughout games they were going to be locked in defensively, and that just wasn't the case. There's a play, I think, in the second half when Southern Utah had 3 players in the frame on the TV camera, and there were no KU players. They're all half court or in their own half, and I think that just speaks to maybe the lack of intensity that you saw from the team. And Norm Roberts basically said it, where they're going to have to ramp up again to that intensity level that you saw over the first 3 games of the season. I think it's something that long-term, I don't know if a performance like this is discouraging or worrying. I think it's one of those deals where the circumstances maybe influence it a little bit. I think maybe the bigger issue you see is some of the rebounding issues that Kansas can have. You know, KJ Adams offers a lot at 6'7", he's versatile, but maybe defensive rebounding isn't his strength, and you saw KU get out-rebounded tonight and just not great on the glass overall, and I think that's probably a little bit of a concern that you have going forward. I think on the positive side, Jalen Wilson was incredible. 33 points, sets another career high, and he's the first Jayhawk to score 30-plus points since Ochai Agbaji against Texas Tech, when he scored 37 in that double overtime thriller back in January. And what you're seeing from Wilson is kind of some of the stuff I think you saw from Ochai Agbaji early last season, and from some of the past great seasons. Players like that have announced it at the Champions Classic. You think about Frank Mason a few years back, and even going prior. Jalen Wilson has really done that, and he's lived up, I think, to some of the hype and expectations, where if he keeps this up, this is an All-American caliber season, right? He's going to be averaging well over 20 points, a little bit under 10 rebounds, a little bit under 5 assists. I mean, those are incredible statistics. And if he can continue to produce with the efficiency that he did tonight, where it's not the 0 for 7 from 3 that you saw against Duke, it's much more efficient, that's huge. And I think Grady Dick's scoring is incredible and can't be understated as well. He's someone that maybe can't get his own shot right now, but I think as he progresses will get a lot better at that. But just the flurries that he scores in, the big 3 at the end of the game, just overall, it's hard not to be impressed with what he's shown early in his freshman season. He seems like someone that's going to be very relied upon this season to score, because I think outside of Wilson and Dick, I mean, you're kind of looking up and down the roster and saying, who is that 3rd or 4th scorer, right? Kevin McCullough hasn't really hit the ground running yet. You're not really going to get that scoring output from your big men, I don't think, game in and game out. And I think it's going to be on DeJuan Harris maybe to step up a little bit more. And he did so in the second half, which is encouraging. But I think overall this is one of those games that you probably scrap it. You know, Bill Self's not going to do that. I think the team will have Saturday off. They'll be back Sunday. I think he'll have a fun film session with the team. They'll be able to go over it. So that's what we got for today. We'll be back with more football coverage on Saturday, and then heading in next week with the Battle for Atlantis tournament. So as always, stay tuned to Fog.net.